everyone. In this unit, we're going to be talking about corporate management and the structure of a corporation and the role that these individuals play in running a corporation. So we're going to focus in this PowerPoint on directors and officers. So let's go. So first of all, here's a nice little slide to just kind of talk to kind of spell out for us in a nice graphic about the structure of a corporation. Remember something we talked about with the difference between a limited liability company and a corporation, and of course, a general partnership and a corporation, is how those businesses are organized. And when it comes to a general partnership or a limited liability company, the owners of those businesses have a lot of flexibility in how they organize and structure how the business is operated and run. And as we mentioned, one of the key differences among many other differences between those entities and a corporation is the structure that the law gives us for how a corporation is organized. And remember, some people might think we don't want this kind of structure, but a lot of people like the structure and how a corporation is organized, including investors. So when we talk about these roles, here they are. We talk about shareholders as being the owners of the corporation. These are the investors, if you like that word instead. Somebody who has taken some of their own money, anywhere from $5 to $5 million, and invested or given it to the corporation to own a piece of that corporation. That's where we get the term share or shareholder. And I could own just one share of a corporation and I'm an owner, or I could own 99.9% or 100% of the shares of a corporation and I'm an owner. But in a corporation, we separate the owning of the business a little separate from the running of the business. As we mentioned in our last unit, shareholders have rights. And one of the rights of shareholders is to vote in the management, meaning who's running the corporation, who's making the business decisions. So one of the most important roles of a shareholder is to vote in the board of directors members, as described here. And the board of directors is responsible for the big picture decision making for the business. We're going to go through some roles of directors more. That's what this PowerPoint is all about, and officers too. One of, among other, primary roles of the directors is to then hire the officers. The officers are the people we usually refer to as the CEO, the CIO, the president, or the vice president of the corporation. So what's the difference between directors and officers? Because at the end of the day, those are the entities that are responsible for managing and running the business. The difference goes like this. As I just mentioned, directors are responsible for big picture decisions involving mergers, decisions involving maybe closing up factories, taking the business in different directions. Whereas the officers handle the day-to-day operations. They're hired. This is their full-time job. This is what they do on a day-to-day basis, is running the company, signing contracts on behalf of the country, maybe hiring and training employees, visiting with banks, visiting with vendors. The directors are involved on that day-to-day running of the business. The directors likely have other responsibilities. Being a director of corporation is unlikely to be your full-time gig. So unlike an officer where it is. All right, so let's talk about this a little bit more. We see we have the shareholders and we have officers and directors. So if you imagine the corporate management, those officers and directors are clearly working every day to make decisions on behalf of a corporation. So I wanted to ask you guys this question to pause and sort of reflect on it. When the officers and directors are faced with any business decision and they need to decide which decision should I make? I mean, we can use an example of, let's say, closing a factory or closing a business location. You know, the economy is taking a downturn and maybe our business has 10 locations and now we're thinking about closing one of those locations in an effort to save money. And this is a big decision. When the officers and directors are faced with a decision like this, the question necessarily arises, in whose best interest do the officers and directors have to act? In other words, when they're faced with those decisions, who should they have in the foremost of their mind? Well, I think the obvious answer still exists right here on the PowerPoint. It's likely the shareholders because they're the owners. So the corporation's officers and directors are really thinking as they make the business decisions, how can this business decision benefit the shareholders? How are the shareholders going to make money on their investment through the decisions that we are being asked to make? And that makes sense, right? Because they've invested their money. So we make business decisions, directors and officers make business decisions with having the shareholders at the front of their mind. And this should make sense, right? But what about anybody else? Should it be shareholders only? Like we only care what the shareholders think about? We only care if the decision we make makes money for the corporation? Is that the only consideration for officers and directors? Or should they be considering anybody else's thoughts and feelings? If you haven't looked ahead at the next slide yet, I'd ask yourself, thinking about the closing of a business location, even if closing that location earns money for the company or saves the company from losing money, and that's a good thing, who does that negatively impact? If you've already been thinking about the employees, you're 100% right. What about closing that location? So let's go on to the next slide and really start to dive deeper into this discussion about what has to be in the heads of the officers and directors. Absolutely, it has to be the shareholders, but who else is impacted? So here's my example. Sugarman Inc. decides it needs to close a factory in Massachusetts because the economy is taking a downturn and maybe this one location is losing a lot of money. And we can sit around as officers and directors and look at the numbers and look at our spreadsheets and our income and what we owe in rent and employees, and might be faced with a difficult decision of closing a factory. Nobody wants to close business. And we can turn to our shareholders and say, this is the best decision for the company. You as investors are going to have your investment preserved. The company is going to stay running by us closing this factory. And if I'm a shareholder, I might think, that's great. You need to preserve my investment. I don't want to lose money. I invested in your company to make money. So keeping the factory open would be a shame because then I would continue to lose money. So go ahead and close the factory. But who else does this impact, the closing of a factory or a restaurant or another business location? Certainly, it has a negative impact as well, even while it might benefit shareholders. It definitely would have a negative impact on employees who work there, maybe vendors who contract with that location. Maybe closing that business means people after work aren't going out to get a drink with their colleagues or stopping at that local grocery store on the way home, maybe going out to eat and keeping money and revenue in the system. And that could lower the tax income for that whole region. Businesses and schools could feel the impact. So just by thinking this through, we can see how shareholders are only one entity that officers and directors are really considering when they're making a decision about what is best in the company, for the company. All these other groups that we just mentioned, employees, vendors, local businesses, we call these individuals stakeholders. They're not shareholders, right? They haven't invested in the business, but they're stakeholders. Because as the business makes decisions, they are impacted by that. So my question to you all is, what should a corporation's officers and directors consider when they make business decisions? Should they only make decisions based on what's best for the shareholders? Or should they also take into account the impact on the stakeholders? And that's a really tough question. And the short answer to the question is both. That the law says, yes, corporations, clearly you should be thinking about shareholders, because if not for the shareholders, the business would not exist. But business officers and directors are permitted under the law to also take into account how their business decisions impact individuals and entities other than shareholders, the stakeholders, the local town, the businesses that are around it, the vendors, the employees. So that's something really important to keep in mind when we think about the structure of the corporation and how we've separated the decision-making part into the officers and directors from the shareholder part. We can't lose sight that as the officers and directors are making decisions, it's the shareholders, yes, but also these other entities. And what do I mean to say about all of this is that it really makes us take a step back and think about the potentials for conflicts of interest here. And this is something we see more and more in the business world today. And this topic is actually explored really well in your book through a lot of examples. So take a look there as well. I don't want to use the PowerPoint to just repeat what's in the book, but I really just want to highlight for you the big pieces that I want you to be thinking about as you enter the business world. As between corporate management, here, officers and directors, shareholders, and stakeholders, whose best interests are at heart? It's really all of them. And maybe that's what is making this so difficult for businesses to run themselves, is this potential for a conflicting interest. So this brings me to another issue, something that we've already been exploring in our unit on corporations, especially heavily on a prior discussion board, which is our good old friend, the breach of fiduciary duty, or the concept of fiduciary duty. Remember, if you think back to a couple discussion boards ago, we focused really heavily on what this fiduciary duty means, the idea that partners in a partnership owe each other this high level of good faith to act in the best interest of the partnership. Remember what some of the elements of fiduciary duty are: to not steal corporate opportunities, to be honest with your partner, and that partners in a partnership have fiduciary duties, members in a limited liability company have fiduciary duties, but not to be forgotten in the land of corporations, because officers and directors also have that same high level of good faith obligation to the corporation and the shareholders, not to the stakeholders. Officers and directors do not owe fiduciary duties to vendors, to employees, to the local towns in which the businesses exist. Those might be contractual relationships, right? The business has a contract to pay its employees, but it's not a fiduciary relationship. The fiduciary relationship is owed to the corporation itself as a business and to the shareholders. So why do I bring all of this up? Where is all of this building to? It's building to the concept of what happens when a business, through its officers and directors, makes a business decision that the shareholders are not happy with. What happens if the shareholders say, I don't like that decision. You decided to leave that business, that factory space open because you might have been worried more about the employees or maybe what your image in the news, but we're losing money. Or, you made a poor decision to merge with another company. There's a multitude of decisions. So where does that leave this relationship between shareholders and corporate management? It leaves the shareholders with a remedy to sue, and it leaves them with this breach of fiduciary duty. But does this mean, and maybe your head has already gone here, does this mean that directors walk around every day going, I hope I don't get sued for this. I hope I don't get sued for that. I mean, we're going to talk in our unit on torts, and I know some of you have already mentioned on the discussion board that I know we sometimes worry about being too sue happy in this country. So what about directors? Who would want to serve as a director of a corporation if you were constantly worried about getting sued? And that is a problem, right? We don't want the directors to walk around worrying about this because no one would ever serve on a board of directors. So the good news is that there is a protection for directors, and this is called the business judgment rule. Now, I just want you to pause and remember for a second. Directors don't have that concept of limited liability that we've talked about. Who has the limited liability? It's the shareholders that have limited liability when the company, the corporation, is sued. The shareholders are protected. But directors don't have limited liability. That's something different. But directors are protected by something called the business judgment rule. I just realized I only have 30 seconds left until this video runs out, and I do want to mention a couple of things about the business judgment rule. So end this video here and just listen to a little bit of the next part where I'll go into just a little bit about the business judgment rule because it's really important.